For Amelia, each sunrise was a battle won, another day to face. She wasn't just working for tips. She was fighting for a future for her little brother, Leo. He was 10, bright-eyed, and full of questions about a world Amelia struggled to make sense of herself. Their parents were gone, a distant memory of a life that had crumbled too soon, leaving Amelia, barely out of her teens, as Leo's sole anchor. Every bill that landed on their tiny apartment's kitchen counter felt like a personal challenge. Rent was always due. Leo needed new shoes, and the school trips, though small, added up fast. The pressure was a constant, dull ache beneath her ribs, a weight she carried with a quiet, fierce determination. She'd learned to move through life with a certain kind of invisibility, a necessary skill in her line of work. At the Azure, she was a blur of efficiency, a polite smile, a silent presence. She anticipated needs before they were voiced, refilled water glasses before they were empty, and cleared plates with practiced grace. Her uniform, a crisp black dress and white apron, became her second skin, a professional mask. It was a uniform that stripped away her personal stories, her dreams, her struggles, and reduced her to a function server. No one at the Azure, with their expensive suits and designer dresses, ever asked about her life outside those gilded walls. No one saw the weary set of her shoulders, the quick calculations in her mind about how many more tables she needed to serve to cover next week's groceries. They saw the uniform, not the person. And Amelia, in turn, saw them as distant, glittering stars in a galaxy she could only observe from afar. The Azure itself was a symphony of luxury. Chandeliers dripped with crystal, casting a soft, golden glow over plush velvet banquettes. The scent of truffles and aged wine mingled with the murmur of hushed conversations. Power brokers, tech magnates, and celebrities frequented its tables, their deals worth more than Amelia could earn in a lifetime. She'd overheard snippets of conversations about private jets, sprawling estates, and investments that soared into the billions. It was a world so far removed from her own, a constant, vivid reminder of the chasm between the haves and the have-nots. She felt like an alien observing a foreign species, trying to understand their rituals, their language, their effortless command of wealth. Yet, she rarely felt bitterness. There was simply a quiet resignation, a knowledge that this was her path. At least for now, her focus was always on the task at hand, on flawless service, on earning enough to keep her and Leo afloat. Tonight had started like any other. The restaurant buzzed with its usual Friday night energy. Amelia was balancing a tray laden with delicate desserts when her gaze drifted to table 7. Arthur Vance, the legendary and often feared CEO of Vance Global, was a regular. He was a man whose name echoed in the financial papers, a man known for his sharp mind and even sharper business dealings. He usually dined alone, a quiet, imposing figure who rarely made eye contact. Tonight, however, he was with a small group of associates, engaged in a heated discussion about market trends and mergers. Amelia had always found him intimidating, a man whose presence seemed to suck the oxygen out of the room. She'd served him countless times, always with extra care, knowing one wrong move could draw his silent, unsettling attention. As she moved past table 7, a sudden, clumsy gesture from one of Vance's associates sent a glass of expensive red wine careening across the pristine white tablecloth. It was a small disaster, but in the Azure, even minor mishaps felt amplified. The associate, a flustered young man, began to stammer apologies, reaching for a napkin that was woefully inadequate. A flicker of annoyance crossed Arthur Vance's face, a barely perceptible tightening around his eyes. He wasn't angry, not exactly, but he exuded the kind of quiet displeasure that made entire rooms fall silent. The other diners at nearby tables paused their conversations, drawn by the sudden splash of crimson against white. Amelia didn't hesitate. Her instincts, honed by years of managing small crises, kicked in. Without a word, she gently but firmly intercepted the associate's fumbling attempts. She placed her dessert tray carefully on a nearby empty table, then retrieved a fresh, thick white cloth from her apron, moving with a speed and efficiency that was almost invisible. With practiced movements, she blotted the spreading wine, her body shielding the embarrassed associate from the direct gaze of Arthur Vance. She knew exactly how to handle it, how to minimize the stain, how to salvage the moment without drawing undue attention. Her actions were swift, precise, and entirely selfless. She wasn't seeking praise or recognition. She was simply doing her job, making things right, protecting a fellow human from further discomfort. She even offered a small, reassuring smile to the red-faced associate, a gesture of quiet understanding that went beyond the requirements of her role. It was a moment of grace, a fleeting act of empathy in a world often devoid of it, a simple, human connection amidst the gleaming opulence. She cleared the soiled cloth, replaced it with a fresh one, and then, only then, did she turn back to her dessert tray, ready to continue her rounds. She thought nothing more of it. It was just another day, another problem solved. But as she picked up her tray, she felt a gaze on her. It was Arthur Vance. He wasn't looking at the now clean tablecloth, nor at his embarrassed associate. His piercing blue eyes were fixed on Amelia. There was something in his look she couldn't quite decipher, not anger, not even appreciation, but a deep, almost unsettling intensity. It made her skin prickle. She gave a small, polite nod, expecting him to dismiss her, to turn back to his conversation. Instead, he raised a hand, a silent command for her to stop. The room seemed to hold its breath. Arthur Vance said, "Could you please bring me the check, and then, if you have a moment, I'd like to speak with you." Amelia's heart gave a little lurch. This was unusual. Billionaires didn't usually ask to speak with waitstaff, not in this manner, not without a complaint, not without a problem to address. A tiny knot of anxiety tightened in her stomach. Had she done something wrong? Had she somehow overstepped? Despite her efficient cleaning, perhaps a faint stain remained, or her silent intervention had been seen as disrespectful. She felt a flush creeping up her neck. She always tried to be invisible. Now, she was being singled out. She forced a polite smile. Amelia said, "Of course, sir." She walked to the POS system, her mind racing. What could he possibly want? She printed the check, her fingers trembling slightly, and returned to table 7. Arthur Vance took the check, glancing at the total, then slowly, deliberately, he pulled out a small, elegant pen. He signed the slip, then paused, his gaze meeting hers once more. His eyes held an unreadable depth. Arthur Vance said, "Your name is Amelia, correct?" Amelia said, "Yes, sir." Her voice was barely a whisper. She braced herself, wondering what stern observation or critical feedback was about to come. She had imagined 100 scenarios, none of them good. A complaint about her service, a subtle critique of her demeanor, a comment about the trivial wine spill. She prepared herself for the usual, for the way the world often saw her, as a mistake, a servant who had perhaps erred. But then, he did something utterly unexpected. He slid the signed check across the table towards her. Amelia glanced down at it, her breath catching in her throat. The tip he had left was astronomical, a number so large it made her eyes widen in disbelief. It was more than she made in a month. It was enough to cover Leo's needs for the entire year, enough to ease the crushing weight of their financial struggles for a long time. She stared at the numbers, her mind struggling to process them. This wasn't just generous, it was impossible. Amelia said, "Sir, you can't be serious." The whisper was barely audible, yet it cut through the opulent silence, her world tilting on its axis. Arthur Vance's lips curved into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. Arthur Vance said, "Amelia, I assure you, I am always serious." His voice was low, measured, and held an undeniable authority. Amelia felt a blush creep up her neck. She couldn't tear her eyes from the check. The numbers seemed to shimmer, an impossible beacon of hope. It was a lifeline, a miracle. She looked up at him, her heart thumping against her ribs. She didn't know what to say, how to react. Such a sum for such a small act of service. It felt wrong, overwhelming. Amelia said, "Sir, I don't understand. This is too much. I just cleaned up a spill." Arthur Vance said, "You did more than clean up a spill, Amelia. You handled the situation with grace, efficiency, and discretion. You protected my associate from further embarrassment. You acted without being asked, without seeking recognition. That, in my world, is a rare and valuable quality. He paused, his gaze unwavering. Arthur Vance said, "Many people would have simply called a manager or made a fuss. You simply acted. Quietly, competently." His words were not a compliment so much as an observation, a precise assessment of her actions. It made her feel seen, truly seen. For the first time in a long while, it wasn't just about the money. It was about the recognition, the acknowledgement of her worth beyond the uniform. Amelia's mind raced, a whirlwind of emotions. Gratitude, confusion, a faint tremor of fear. This was a man known for his calculated moves, his strategic brilliance. Such a grand gesture from him felt significant. Arthur Vance said, "Now, if you truly wish to understand, I have an offer for you. A proposition, if you will." He leaned forward slightly, his voice dropping, commanding her full attention. Arthur Vance said, "I am looking for a personal assistant, someone with your level of intuition, your discretion, your ability to anticipate needs and solve problems before they escalate. Someone who understands the importance of quiet competence." Amelia stared at him, speechless. A personal assistant? To Arthur Vance, the very idea was ludicrous. She was a waitress, nothing more. Her world was trays and tips, not boardrooms and billionaires. Her mind screamed protests. She had no formal education beyond high school, no corporate experience, no resume that would even get a second glance from a company like Vance Global. She felt a wave of inadequacy wash over her, a harsh reminder of her humble background. Her shoulders slumped slightly, the weight of her perceived limitations pressing down on her. Arthur Vance seemed to sense her internal struggle. Arthur Vance said, "I don't care about your resume, Amelia. I care about what I saw tonight. I care about character, about genuine ability." And I saw both in spades. He paused, letting his words sink in. Arthur Vance said, "The role would be demanding. Long hours, travel, immense responsibility. But it would also offer opportunities you could only dream of here. A salary that would make this tip seem like pocket change. And more importantly, a chance to learn, to grow, to truly make an impact." He watched her carefully, like a predator assessing its prey, but with an underlying current of genuine curiosity. Amelia swallowed hard. Her throat felt dry. This wasn't just a job offer. It was a portal to an entirely different life. A life where she might not have to worry about Leo's shoes, or the rent, or how many hours she had to work to make ends meet. A life where she might actually be able to breathe. But the fear was just as strong as the temptation. The fear of failure, of being out of her depth, of stepping into a world she knew nothing about. The Azure, for all its challenges, was familiar territory. She knew the rules here. The world of Vance Global was an unknown ocean, vast and potentially treacherous. Amelia said, "Sir, I don't have experience in that kind of role. I'm just a server. I barely finished high school." Her voice was small, hesitant, echoing her self-doubt. Arthur Vance said, "And yet, you handled a crisis tonight, with more poise than most executives I know. Experience can be taught, character cannot. And frankly, Amelia, the best lessons are often learned outside of formal education. You have resourcefulness, an eye for detail, and a quiet strength. Those are the qualities I need." He leaned back, his expression unreadable. Arthur Vance said, "Think about it. There's no pressure. If you're not interested, I understand." But I felt it was a conversation worth having. He pushed a small, discreet business card across the table. It was black, minimalist, with only his name and a private number. Arthur Vance said, "My office will expect your call by noon tomorrow. If I don't hear from you, I'll assume you've decided to remain here, serving other people's dreams." The last sentence hung in the air, a subtle challenge, a gentle prod. Amelia took the card, her fingers brushing against the cool, smooth surface. It felt heavy, loaded with unspoken possibilities. She nodded, still unable to form a coherent sentence. She managed a weak, "Thank you, sir. I will consider it." She turned and walked away, her steps mechanical, her mind reeling. The remaining hours of her shift passed in a blur. She moved through the restaurant, serving, clearing, smiling, but her thoughts were miles away, replaying every word of the conversation. The tip, still tucked securely in her apron, felt like a burning coal against her skin. It was real. This was real. As she clocked out, the vibrant nightlife of the Cray city seemed to mock her internal turmoil. The neon signs, the bustling crowds, the laughter from passing cars, it all felt distant, surreal. She walked home, the city lights reflecting in her bewildered eyes, the card clutched tight in her hand. The tiny apartment she shared with Leo felt both like a sanctuary and a prison. The familiar scent of their home, the worn armchair, the stacks of Leo's comic books, they were comforting, but also stark reminders of the life she was struggling to maintain. She found Leo asleep on the couch, a book open on his chest, a half-eaten apple beside him. He looked so small, so vulnerable. He was her reason, her driving force. And it was for him that she had to consider this impossible offer. She sat down at the kitchen table, the business card laid out before her like a cryptic message. A personal assistant to a billionaire. The words sounded like something out of a movie, not her life. What did a personal assistant even do? Answer phones? Schedule meetings? Manage complex calendars? She had no idea. Her entire experience was in managing tables, not corporate empires. The fear was a cold knot in her stomach. What if she failed? What if she embarrassed herself? What if she discovered she wasn't cut out for anything more than being just a waitress? The thought was a painful stab. But then, another thought began to surface, quiet but insistent. What if she succeeded? What if this was her chance to break free from the endless cycle of barely making it? What if this was her opportunity to give Leo a better life? A life where he didn't have to watch his older sister wear herself out just to keep food on the table. She thought of Leo's bright, questioning eyes, his dreams of becoming an astronaut or a scientist. Those dreams felt so far away in their current reality. This offer, however daunting, felt like a faint glimmer of hope, a distant star in her dark sky. She spent the entire night wrestling with the decision. Sleep was impossible. She walked to the window, watching the city slowly awaken. The first rays of dawn painted the sky in soft hues of pink and gold, signaling a new day and a monumental decision. She replayed Vance's words in her head. I don't care about your resume, Amelia. I care about what I saw tonight. And experience can be taught. Character cannot. His faith in her, however brief, was strangely empowering. It chipped away at the wall of self-doubt she had meticulously built around herself. She had always believed that her worth was tied to her background, her lack of credentials. But Arthur Vance, a man who saw through facades, had seen something else. He had seen her. She thought about the long hours, the relentless grind at the Azure, the exhaustion that seeped into her bones. She thought about the endless worry, the financial tightrope. This new path, while terrifying, offered a chance at something more stable, more fulfilling, a chance to truly provide for Leo without sacrificing her own well-being entirely. The fear was still there, a persistent shadow, but it was now overshadowed by a growing sense of resolve. She looked at the business card again, the elegant script of his name, the simple phone number. It was a direct line to a new future, a future she couldn't have imagined a mere 12 hours ago. The clock on the wall ticked steadily, moving closer to noon. She knew she had to make a choice. Not just for herself, but for Leo. She picked up her phone, her thumb hovering over the numbers. The decision was made. The call was made. Amelia's voice, though a little shaky, carried a newfound conviction. A calm, professional voice answered, directing her to a woman named Miss Davies, Arthur Vance's executive assistant. Miss Davies, precise and efficient, scheduled an interview for later that afternoon. The entire process felt surreal, a rapid-fire sequence of events that spun her head. She dressed in the best clothes she owned, a simple dark skirt, and a sensible blouse, feeling utterly out of place, like an imposter stepping onto a grand stage. Vance Global's headquarters was a towering edifice of glass and steel, a monument to corporate power. The lobby alone was more opulent than the entire restaurant where she worked. Marble floors gleamed, abstract art adorned the walls, and the hushed efficiency of the staff spoke volumes. Amelia felt a tremor of intimidation, but she pushed it down. She remembered Arthur Vance's words, I don't care about your resume. She had to hold on to that. Her worth was not in a piece of paper, But in her character, the interview was less formal than she expected. Arthur Vance was there, along with Miss Davies. He asked fewer questions about her past and more about her approach to problem-solving, her ability to adapt, her priorities. He spoke about the relentless pace of his work, the need for absolute loyalty, and the expectation of unwavering discretion. He tested her with hypothetical scenarios, asking how she would handle unexpected travel changes, difficult clients, or last-minute demands. Amelia answered honestly, drawing on her years of experience in high-pressure service, where quick thinking and calm under fire were paramount. She didn't try to be someone she wasn't. She spoke of her dedication, her commitment to finishing what she started, and her deep-seated desire to provide for her brother. Miss Davies observed her with a keen, analytical eye, taking notes, but Arthur Vance's gaze was fixed solely on Amelia. He seemed to be looking beyond her words, probing for something deeper. At one point, he asked a question that caught her off guard. Arthur Vance said, "Amelia, what do you value most in life?" She didn't have to think. Amelia said, "My brother, Leo, and our ability to be together, to have a safe home. That's everything to me, sir." Her voice was soft but firm. Arthur Vance simply nodded, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. The interview concluded, and she was told they would be in touch. As she left, walking through the gleaming corridors, she felt a strange mix of exhilaration and exhaustion. She had given it her best shot. The outcome was now out of her hands. The call came 2 days later. Miss Davies offered her the position. The salary alone made her gasp, a number she had only ever dreamed of. It was more than enough to lift her and Leo out of their precarious situation. It was a golden ticket, a chance to rebuild their lives. Amelia accepted, her voice thick with emotion. She gave notice at the Azure, where her departure caused a quiet ripple of surprise. She was a valued, reliable employee, and her sudden exit was unexpected. She offered no explanations, simply a polite resignation. Her first few weeks at Vance Global were a whirlwind. The learning curve was steep, almost vertical. She was plunged into a world of complex schedules, international calls, and high-stakes meetings. She learned to manage Arthur Vance's intricate calendar, anticipating his needs, booking flights and hotels with precision, organizing his vast network of contacts. Miss Davies, initially reserved, became her mentor, guiding her through the nuances of corporate etiquette and the specific demands of working for Arthur Vance. Miss Davies said, "He expects perfection, Amelia, but he also values initiative. Don't be afraid to think ahead, to solve problems before they become his problems." Amelia absorbed everything like a sponge. She spent late nights studying company reports, familiarizing herself with the key players, understanding the jargon that had once sounded like a foreign language. Her natural intelligence, her acute observation skills, and her innate ability to anticipate needs, all honed during her years as a server, proved invaluable. She learned to read Arthur Vance's subtle cues, to understand his unspoken expectations. She learned to draft concise emails, to prepare detailed itineraries, to navigate the complex world of international business travel. She was constantly challenged, pushed to her limits, but with each hurdle she overcame, her confidence grew. The change in her personal life was profound. She moved into a small but comfortable 2-bedroom apartment, finally giving Leo his own room. The relief of not having to constantly worry about money was immense. She could afford healthy food, new clothes, and even a tutor for Leo, who was thriving in his new, stable environment. She still worked long hours, but the work felt different. It was meaningful, challenging, and she was learning every day. She was no longer invisible. She was an essential part of a powerful machine, a crucial cog in the Vance global empire. Arthur Vance, for his part, remained an enigmatic figure. He was demanding, often stern, but always fair. He rarely offered praise, but his silent nods, his occasional brief smiles, spoke volumes. He pushed her, expecting her to rise to every challenge, and she did. She became indispensable, his right hand, the person who made his chaotic schedule flow seamlessly. She saw him at his most powerful, orchestrating multimillion-dollar deals, and at his most human, quietly reflecting on a project or offering a rare personal anecdote. Their relationship, initially defined by a single gesture, had evolved into a professional partnership built on mutual respect and a shared understanding of dedication. One day, several months into her new role, they were on a private jet, flying to a crucial meeting in London. Arthur Vance was poring over documents, a focused intensity in his eyes. Amelia, seated across from him, was finalizing the presentation notes. The plane was quiet, save for the hum of the engines. He suddenly looked up, breaking the silence. Arthur Vance said, "Amelia, how is your brother doing?" The question surprised her. It was the first time he had ever inquired about her personal life since the initial interview. Amelia said, "He's doing wonderfully, sir. He loves his new school, and he's excelling in his science club. He talks about space all the time." A genuine smile touched her lips as she spoke of Leo. Arthur Vance nodded slowly. Arthur Vance said, "Good. That's good." He paused, a contemplative look on his face. Arthur Vance said, "You know, Amelia, when I first saw you, I didn't see just a waitress. I saw a young woman with immense potential, burdened by circumstances. I saw someone who didn't let those circumstances define her. You picked yourself up, you put one foot in front of the other, and you carved out a life for your brother despite immense challenges. That's true strength." His words were a balm to her soul, a powerful affirmation of everything she had endured. He had truly seen her, not just the uniform, but the fight within her. Amelia felt a lump form in her throat. Amelia said, "Thank you, sir. Your belief in me, it's changed everything." Arthur Vance said, "My belief merely opened a door. You walked through it, Amelia, and you excelled. Don't ever forget that. Your success is your own doing." He returned to his papers, but the moment hung in the air, a silent testament to their evolving bond. It wasn't just a job, it was a journey of self-discovery, of proving her own worth. Her journey at Vance Global continued, each day bringing new challenges and new triumphs. She traveled the world, sat in boardrooms, and learned the intricate dance of global commerce. She became adept at anticipating crises, negotiating schedules, and even subtly influencing outcomes. Her confidence soared, replacing the quiet self-doubt that had once plagued her. She wasn't just an assistant, she was a trusted confidant, a strategic partner. She often reflected on that night at the Azure, the red wine spill, the impossible tip, the life-altering offer. It felt like a lifetime ago, a distant dream. One particularly demanding week, Arthur Vance was preparing for a crucial merger. The stakes were incredibly high, with billions of dollars on the line. Amelia had been working tirelessly, coordinating meetings, preparing reports, and managing the endless stream of communications. She had barely slept, fueled by coffee and an unwavering commitment to the task. On the morning of the final negotiation, a key document went missing, a critical piece of financial data that could derail the entire deal. Panic rippled through the office. Arthur Vance's face was grim. The pressure was immense. Amelia, calm amidst the chaos, systematically retraced every step, every email, every file. She remembered a casual conversation, a passing remark from an associate about an old version of the document being printed for review. Her mind, sharp and focused, connected the dots. She directed the team to a rarely used archive folder on the company server, a place no one else had thought to check. Within minutes, the document was found, intact and critical. The merger was saved. Arthur Vance looked at her, a rare, genuine smile gracing his lips. Arthur Vance said, "Amelia, you just saved us $1 billion." The praise was short, direct, and incredibly impactful. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the testament to her growing capabilities, her indispensable value. She had proven her worth not just as an assistant, but as a strategic thinker, a problem solver in her own right. She wasn't just a waitress who got lucky. She was a force to be reckoned with. Years passed, and Amelia's journey from server to indispensable executive at Vance Global became a quiet legend within the company's hallowed halls. She continued to grow, to learn, and to master every challenge thrown her way. Arthur Vance, now in his 70s, had slowly begun to delegate more and more responsibility to her, trusting her judgment implicitly. She had moved beyond being just a personal assistant. She was now a key strategist, a vice president, her name appearing on critical reports and major project proposals. Her transformation was complete, yet she never forgot where she came from. Leo, now a bright, confident teenager, was thriving. He was on track for a prestigious university scholarship, his dreams of space exploration no longer distant fantasies but tangible goals. He often looked at his sister with a mixture of awe and gratitude. He knew the sacrifices she had made, the battles she had fought, and the incredible journey she had undertaken to secure their future. He understood that her success wasn't just about money. It was about resilience, about fighting for what you believe in, and about daring to seize an unexpected opportunity. One crisp autumn evening, Amelia sat in Arthur Vance's expansive office, the city lights twinkling below them like scattered diamonds. He had called her in for a private conversation, his expression more reflective than usual. Arthur Vance said, "Amelia, I've been doing a lot of thinking lately." He gestured towards the panoramic view of the city. Arthur Vance said, "This empire, it's been my life's work, but I'm not getting any younger. It's time to consider the future of Vance Global." Amelia listened intently, a sense of anticipation building within her. She knew he had been contemplating retirement for some time, but the specifics of succession were always shrouded in secrecy. Arthur Vance said, "I have observed many people over the decades, brilliant minds, ruthless competitors, innovative thinkers. But very few possess the unique blend of intellect, intuition, and unwavering character that you do, Amelia." He paused, his gaze fixed on her. Arthur Vance said, "You started here with nothing but a willingness to learn and an unshakable resolve. You prove that worth isn't determined by a degree or a pedigree, but by action, by genuine commitment." Amelia's heart pounded. She had a feeling she knew where this was going, but it still felt too monumental to grasp. Arthur Vance said, "I want you to take over, Amelia. I want you to be the next CEO of Vance Global." The words hung in the air, electric and life-altering. Amelia felt a surge of emotions: shock, disbelief, overwhelming gratitude, and a fierce, unshakable pride. Her mind flashed back to that night at the Azure, to the red wine spill, to the impossible tip, to the moment he had seen beyond her uniform. She remembered her fear, her self-doubt, her hesitant voice whispering, "I'm just a server." Now, the man who had seen her worth when she couldn't was entrusting her with his legacy. Amelia said, "Sir, I don't know what to say. It's an incredible honor." Her voice was thick with emotion. Arthur Vance said, "It's not just an honor, Amelia. It's a responsibility. And it's one I know you are more than capable of handling. You earned it. Every single step of the way." He smiled, a rare, genuine smile that softened the lines on his face. Arthur Vance said, "Remember that night at the Azure? That wine spill? It wasn't just about cleaning up a mess. It was about how you handled it. It was about character. It was about seeing a problem and fixing it, without seeking credit, without hesitation. That's the essence of leadership." He stood up and walked over to his desk, picking up a framed photograph. It was an old black and white picture of a young Arthur Vance, looking determined and ambitious, standing in front of a small, nondescript building, the very first Vance Global office. Arthur Vance said, "I built this company from the ground up, with nothing but an idea and a relentless spirit. You embody that spirit, Amelia. You are the future." Amelia looked at the photograph, then back at the man who had changed her life. She realized then that his gesture, that simple tip, was never just about charity. It was an investment in potential, in character, in a future he had envisioned for someone whose society might have overlooked. He had given her a chance, and she had seized it, with both hands, proving not just to him, but to herself, that her worth was immeasurable, extending far beyond the confines of a uniform. She wasn't just a waitress. She was a visionary, a leader, a testament to the power of a single, simple gesture of belief. Her story is a powerful reminder that true value often lies hidden, overlooked by superficial appearances. It's a testament to the fact that kindness, genuine observation, and an unexpected opportunity can unleash potential far beyond what anyone could imagine. Amelia's journey isn't just about a career change. It's about the profound impact one person can have on another, about breaking free from preconceived notions, and about the quiet strength of perseverance. It's about how the world can be changed, one belief, one chance, one human connection at a time. It highlights how often we judge people by their roles, by their uniforms, by their current circumstances, rather than by the invaluable qualities they possess within. We limit our own world by limiting our perception of others. So, what if we looked closer? What if we dared to see beyond the surface, beyond the job title, beyond the first impression? What if we saw the potential, the character, the hidden brilliance in everyone we encounter, no matter their role in life? How many Amelias are out there, quietly excelling, overcoming immense odds, just waiting for someone to truly see them? How many opportunities are we missing to uplift, to empower, to ignite a spark in someone who desperately needs it? Amelia's story challenges us to question our own perceptions. It makes us wonder about the quiet battles fought by the people who serve us coffee, deliver our packages, or clean our spaces. What unseen qualities do they possess? What untold stories do they carry? It's a call to empathy, a plea for deeper observation, for the kind of discerning eye that Arthur Vance possessed that fateful night. His gesture wasn't just about money. It was about the dawned, profound act of recognition, of acknowledging the inherent dignity and capability in another human being. It was about understanding that talent and resilience aren't exclusive to boardrooms or prestigious universities. They are universal, waiting to be discovered, waiting to be nurtured. Think about the people in your life, the ones you interact with daily. Do you truly see them, or do you only see their role? What small gesture of recognition, what simple act of genuine interest could you offer that might change someone's day, or even their life? This isn't about grand philanthropic endeavors. It's about the everyday interactions, the moments where we choose to acknowledge another person's humanity, their effort, their struggle, their inherent worth. Because sometimes, all it takes is one person, one moment, to completely change the trajectory of another's life. One look, one word, one belief, can unlock a future that was once unimaginable. Amelia's story reminds us that every single person holds untapped potential, quiet strengths, and an incredible capacity to grow, given the right chance. It's a story that transcends the world of business and touches upon the very core of human connection. It teaches us that true vision isn't just about seeing numbers on a balance sheet. It's about seeing the boundless possibility in a human spirit. What do you think? Have you ever had a moment where someone saw your worth when you least expected it? Or perhaps you've been the one to offer that unexpected moment of recognition to someone else. Share your stories in the comments below. Let's create a community that sees beyond the surface, that celebrates hidden potential, and that believes in the transformative power of a simple, genuine gesture. And if this story moved you, if it made you think differently, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more inspiring true stories. Thanks for watching. And hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next upload. Your support helps us bring more narratives of resilience, recognition, and extraordinary human connection to light. Remember, sometimes, all it takes is one gesture to change everything.